be your host tonight. And then Carol Roeder is also on the call with us, and she's my co-host, and she'll introduce herself a little bit later here when we kind of scoot through our presentation. Just to do a couple housekeeping things, if you'll keep your line muted just to cut out background noise while we're doing the main presentation. If you have a question or something, feel free to unmute it and reach out and ask. Or also we have the chat group going. You can message the whole group or you can message an individual person. But we did this call on Monday night, and we really found it was a great tool for people to ask questions when we were in the middle of a slide or something like that, as well as a great place for us to share some links, different people, things that you come across that might be helpful to the group. I will be, after the meeting, after tonight's call, I'll send out a survey about this call specifically and get some feedback. But then also I'll be following up to the bigger group with some resources and things that we've talked about. And hopefully some things will come up tonight that you guys may find beneficial or may ask about, and we can get those to you to kind of expand some resources. But just to kind of get started, let you guys know who I am. I actually serve as I'm a volunteer, just like you guys, serve as the communications lead for the South region. I live in South Arkansas, grew up in Texas, and relay in Oklahoma. So we kind of live down in this part of Arkansas that's right on the border. They call it the Arklatex, and so I'm in kind of a fun little space with access to a couple different states where we can interact with them. But like many of you guys, I got involved with relay because someone asked me to. I showed up and then did the normal advancing where you go from come walk to come be part of the team, to be a team co-captain, to be a chair, all that stuff. And so over the years, I've been involved as a team captain, an event chair, committee. I've been an online chair, and so that's kind of my relay background. I am a almost 10-year cancer survivor and have been able to be part of the Hero of Hope program in the South, and now the Voices of Hope program for the South region. And I'm just really excited about what the new things that are happening with us being part of the South region. And then, of course, my partnership with Carol is we try to just support you guys. That's our biggest goal. We've started tonight with the topic of social media and getting some things going there. But our hope is as we move forward over the coming months and then, year or so, that we can have some things like this that just equip you guys in specific ways. So tonight's call, we're really not, we know we're not going to be super exhaustive. That's not our goal. Our goal is to kind of get started, play a little catch up. We know that folks are on the call at different levels of their involvement with social media, and tonight we're going to focus a lot on Facebook. But, we included in this call those who are online and marketing chair roles and ELTs and committees in local communities to just try to reach out and do a first step to just get connected with you guys. Your role is important in local communities because you often are the face of how folks are learning about Relay for Life, learning about the American Cancer Society, learning about the specifics of your event. And so we want to help do what we can to equip you and maybe give you some more ideas to get you thinking and to move you along. So before I turn over to Carol, those of you that just joined us, if you will just mute your line if you're not talking, use the chat group to let us know if you have questions. And one thing that might be great is if you would put maybe your first and last name in there and where you're from, and I'll just help us as we go through. We can kind of learn how to connect with each other and learn who's on the call. So, Carol, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. And like Keisha said, thank you so much for giving up your Wednesday night to join us. I hope that we bring you some tips and tools that are going to be useful for you. My name is Carol Roeder. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. And I have been with the American Cancer Society for 20 years, and I have been a cancer survivor for the same amount of time. Just a real quick update about this presentation tonight. I gave it to the Strides leads early in December, and they were really receptive to it. And so I thought, why not? Let's roll it out to Relay and see if they find it useful as well. So I hope you do. But we really do look forward to your questions and your feedback, because you can help make this better. So let's get started. Just a real high level before we dig in deep into social media. These are the 3 important venues that you work with in your role: the website, your e-communications, and your Facebook. And if there's one message that we want to share with you, is that the information that are on these different venues is consistent. If you post something to one, please make sure that the information is also available on the other 2 sources as well, because you never know where your volunteers or your participants are going to go for the information. And you can just make it easy for them, and it also makes you look good. Be sure to update your website regularly. Make sure that you greet your sponsors and you update your logistics and talk about your pace setters. And just make sure you visit it weekly, just with fresh eyes, to see if there's not something else that you need to add to make it meaningful for people who come to visit you there. In terms of e-communications, I know that there is a schedule or a calendar of sorts that's available to all of you. My recommendation is to follow that guideline. It's really tried and true, and I think you'd be doing yourself a service if you follow that as closely as you can. But you'll also leave yourself some wiggle room, and when you don't have a planned communication, but you have something coming up, some late-breaking news, some research thing that has happened, or if you're going to run an online challenge, you have an opportunity to push that out via your e-communications, and then of course you would place it on your Facebook page too. Keisha's going to talk about some really great tips and tools, but I'll start by saying, please try to post 4 to 5 times a week. You want to keep your page fresh. And more often too, when you get closer to the event, like maybe 1 to 2 times a day, you'll know, because people are going to be asking you questions. And you know, it's a big job. So if you're the primary poster and you start feeling a little overwhelmed, recruit someone who's just as passionate about social media as you are, and share the load, share the burden, make it easier on both of you. Also watch your posts to see what's engaging and what's not. If I don't want to go too deep into it, but Facebook has made some changes lately so that if your posts are not meaningful and are not relevant and are not engaging people, they will not see the same reach. And as you say that, as I say that out loud, that just makes so much sense. But the more meaningful it is, the more people will see it, the more they will share, the more they will comment, and the higher you will, the more prominent you will be on Facebook feeds. So while these 3 venues are equally important, tonight we're going to focus on social media. This slide reminds me not to get too overwhelmed. And that we need to stay focused. There are so many social media options available to us: Twitter and Instagram and Tumblr and LinkedIn. But according to research, we have learned that the demographics of the primary users of Facebook most closely mirror the demographics and the demographics of the American Cancer Society constituents and customers and people who participate in Relay. So we're going to go down that route, and rather than try to spread ourselves too thin, trying to be everything for everyone everywhere, we're going to try to take on Facebook and just knock it out of the park and be awesome at what we do. As we flip through some of these slides, you'll see too that they are available to you in the Relay for Life social media playbook. We're going to give you the link to that after the call is over, because it is chock full of great tips and tools, things to make your life easier. And really, that's what it's all about. You have an important job, but But if you can spend a little time on it and get a great big return on investment, well, that's what everybody wants. I have a note on here. It says admin SO region. Essentially, that's me. But SO region, first name SO, last name region, is an account that we are adding to all American Cancer Society South Region Facebook pages. And that it's just a silent partner. It's just an admin so that we can make sure that if there are changes, if volunteers leave or staff leave or they choose to work on another project, that we don't lose admin status and that we don't leave the visitors to those pages without seamless information. Again, like I said, silent partner, SO region will not post. SO region really doesn't care what you're doing with your page because it's yours and you're the expert. But if something happens, we're going to be able to still keep in touch with all of your followers if something happens to you, or if you win the lottery and decide that you want to move to Hawaii and we lose you. So just so you know, if you don't have SO region as an admin on your relay pages, please add them. What else? Let's go to a little bit more about Facebook and why we chose Facebook on that next slide. These are the stats that help us decide to use Facebook. 75% of Facebook users visited their site every day last year. So we are trying to go where people are and meet them where they are and deliver messages to them and make it easy for them to engage with us. 50% of Instagram users engage with their platform daily. So you can tell Instagram is growing, there's no doubt about it, but right now still Facebook is king. If you use Facebook or Twitter, that's great. We're not gonna focus on that tonight. Let me see if there's anything else on here. No, I think you can just take a look at this slide on your own. I don't think there's anything in particular that you needed to dwell on. This next slide, though, is all about balance. Sometimes when we visit some of our sites, we feel like we're just asking. And we want to lend some balance to that. And in addition to asking people to go to join us and to fundraise and to be part of our community, we want to give them a reason to do that. And this slide shows what some of those reasons are. We can talk about amazing sponsors, or we can talk about survivors and how compelling their story is, or we can highlight a caregiver caregivers are so often the unsung hero. We can talk about where the money goes and how important fundraising is because it gives back to the community in terms of prevention, early detection, and treatment options for anyone and everyone and any cancer in every community. Can you pick one of these? Can one of your posts tap into more than one of these boxes? Absolutely. You could easily write a motivational message highlighting a team captain story and asking for people to sign up at the same time. But the point is, when you populate your Facebook page and you push out these messages to these people and you want it to be engaging and you want it to be quality, make sure it's a nice blend of information. The next thing I wanted to talk about is all the questions that sometimes overwhelm us. I mean, like I said earlier, Facebook is changing all the time, and how people respond changes as well. So from the newest newbie to the most experienced person, the questions of how many times and what time of day and how often should I post? These are questions that we grapple with all the time. So tonight, we're going to give you a couple of tips that are going to be able to help you. Again, this comes from the brand toolkit. It is pulled right from the Relay social media playbook. So you don't have to take notes because this is coming to you. These are really great tips. So to help answer some of these questions and more, Keisha, why don't you deliver some tips for us?
Thanks. I just want to say, as we kind of jump into this next slide, Carol said it a couple times, but of course tonight is about us just sharing tips. There's so much out there and so many places and angles and stuff that we could go with the information we're sharing. So we're just trying to start and scratch the surface, give you guys some things to get you thinking and to start using, and then you know, whether it's a one-on-one that we reach out or maybe some future calls where we can go a little bit deeper into certain areas. So trying to keep it high level and a flyover. And one of those things is to talk about this little thing that's called the algorithm. And I'm not going to go deep into it. I actually had some time at work today to do a little reading, and it's changing, which is what's amazing and not so amazing about the algorithm. Basically, if you've never heard that word before or don't know what it is, any social media and now really web platform has this thing in the background. It's their fun little scientific method that helps make your news feed, or with Google, how the things that show up in search helps make those work and function. And so when they are constantly changing that, and as Carol alluded to, it's exciting and it's frustrating sometimes, because when they change things, they are trying to make it a better experience for the user. So those of us who interact with these all the time. But at the same time, it sometimes makes it a little bit frustrating for us who sit in these admin roles, like you guys, where you're operating a page, whether that be a local event or one of our national pages. And so the best way I know to explain it, I'm going to use a couple analogies. And one is, the algorithm just in general is kind of a scientific method in the background that company or organization has developed to put information in front of you or any other user. And so if you're trying to understand kind of how the Facebook one works right now, it's what Carol said earlier. It's all about engagement and how people interact with your posts and the posts around that. And one time I saw an example that explained it kind of using the relationships with Batman, and that was his best friend Joker that he talks to, interacts with, loves. He's going to see everything that Robin, got my people mixed up. I was a My Little Pony girl, not the Batman. His best friend Robin, he's going to see everything that he posts, and so he probably always likes it, maybe makes a comment, might even be tagged and involved in the post when it went up. So he's going to always see everything that Robin does. But Joker, who he only has to interact with every now and then because Robin's usually handling those things, he's not going to see as much of the stuff that Joker posts, where Robin might see lots of things that Joker posts just because of their personal interaction. And so on a practical level, my husband doesn't post much on Facebook, but when he does, I'm either involved in it because it's a picture of us, or I like it or comment on it. And so therefore, I almost always see the stuff that he posts. But my dad, who overposts, and I don't comment, and I kind of scroll past, I don't see his stuff all the time anymore. And he often is like, you never comment on my things. And I'm like, well, that's because you post too much, or I don't really have much to say about. So that's the same thing that we're going to go through as we talk about this. Know that our goal with all of these things is to lead you to a place where you are finding things that are making the people in your community engage. And by engagement, we really mean interact, whether that is like it, share it, comment on it. That is always our ultimate goal of putting anything out there. And frankly, with social media, we're always looking for what's in it for us. And so when you're posting and you're thinking about the content, think about that person that's the user. We as an organization or as a local event have an agenda. We have something we want to say to these folks, but they're looking at it through the lens of what's in it for me. And so anytime that we can turn that around and make sure that our posts are about something for them, they're way more likely to engage with it. And therefore, our things are more likely to consistently be in front of them. So the slide in front of you has lots of information. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but I really love the way Carol said that word balance on that slide two slides ago. That is ultimately what it's about. If we're always pushing something down people's throats by the way or the tone or whatever, then they're going to turn off to what we have to do. But if we're doing things that promote, that engage, that tell stories, that are offering different kinds of balanced or blended post content, then folks are more likely to interact with that and continue to come back for more because we're offering value to their experience. So finding ways to connect with people, and we're going to talk a little bit specifically about the semantics of the technical side of that, but just in general, are you putting out posts and things that are going to connect with people and are connecting with them with each other? Curating is a concept that you may think about as you go through this. That's a word that I've only kind of heard in the last few years related to social media, but it's taking advantage of things that are already posted by another account, whether it's a Relay national account, the American Cancer Society, or even a Relay in your region that's doing something great and you want to share. This is good when it comes to mission facts or some of the organizational things that we're doing. You just hit share on that post that's already sitting out there. And so when you have those gaps of trying to figure out, oh my gosh, it's a busy week, what am I going to post? Well, you can kind of go curate and capture things that already exist and on other accounts and share them here on your page to just put value and something new in front of your folks. Always thinking about story. What story can you tell? Again, that's that whole what's in it for me. How can we tell the story of the people in our community? But how can we also tell the story of what our event is trying to accomplish this year, or what the American Cancer Society, who's attacking cancer from every angle, how can we tell that story, whether through a video, a picture, a post, a graphic, those kinds of things. And then we'll dig into this specifically, but thinking about variety. I know I've said the word balance and I've said the word blended, but variety looks like lots of things. And that is your type of post. So a video, a live video, a graphic, an actual photo at an event. It also can be the style of post. We talked about mission. We talked about a fundraising. For promoting a fundraiser, you can just generally talk about the American Cancer Society. You're inviting people to the event. You have sub-events going on. So making sure that your style of post is being covered. But then plugging things like ACS Can, revenues, specific calls to action. Another variety piece is the time of day and the day of the week that you post, finding out when your people are active and online and what's going to resonate with them and capture them in their different times that they're available. I kind of always talk about it in the mini skirt method in college. We had a professor and he would talk about our term papers in terms of mini skirt. And he said, you want it long enough to cover the topic and short enough to still be interesting. So we want to keep those, I call them digital nuggets. What can somebody see and read, chomp on and move along as they're going through, but just to have those specifics in front of you. Going back to the playbook that we talked about earlier, and again, we'll get you guys links to these tools and make sure you have them. Just again, we're going to look at these. I want you guys to digest what's on the screen as I kind of just share some stuff. Images are super helpful, and we will in our follow-up send out some kind of sizing for you guys to know, within that, not just the cover photo and not just the profile picture, but then even when you make a sub-event, those have different cover photos. What is a great image size for something that's going to be in your feed versus, just at the top. So we'll get that to you so you have those as well. And there are lots of tools. There's apps that you could use. There's a program called Canva, C-A-N-V-A, that if you're not access to Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, that kind of makes the amateur a little bit of an expert with some great tools and templates that they have. But getting graphics, honestly, if you're just putting words as a caption as your post, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, because sometimes just getting something in front of folks is good, but it's not going to have any engagement. And so those posts are just going to kind of get lost, or even something like including a link that's going to pull an image back from the page that you're linking to just makes that post more engageable. Mentions here the KISS method. It's similar to the mini skirt, depends on how, which angle you want to take as you look at that. But always leading a call to action, leading things, getting folks things getting things in front of folks, that just is going to engage them and get them interacting with the things that you have. Links, mentioned that. Links are always important. That is definitely one of those spaces that Facebook changes a lot, is how they pull the link in, the image that they pull with it. Just always be sensitive to the fact that it might be different than it was the last time. But links are great because you want to push people all the way to the place that you're asking them to go. So just saying, sign up for Relay, sign up for our local Relay, we're asking a lot if we don't include a link that they're going to know to go to relayforlife.org and know our zip code or know the name of our event. So going ahead and putting that link in all the way to our event, or to the fundraising page, or to the sponsorship detail page, or whatever it is that you're promoting in your post, will take a lot of questions out for folks. And again, just like what's in it for me, if you make it too hard for me to go get something or to make an action, I'm just kind of done. Like, our folks are busy and they don't have time to do digging. So anything we can do to take out that digging, the questions, and all those extra steps for them is just super helpful. Hashtags are kind of the language of a platform. They are the things that make conversations searchable, make you part of a bigger conversation. But I'll also tell you, hashtags can be a little tricky. And so a couple things to just remember. One is, if you are using a hashtag for the first time and you do not know what it's connected to, go check it out. You can just literally Google hashtag whatever it is that you're wanting to use, and that will tell you. I'll just tell you, for example, I work for a church, and I'm over their digital media team, and when we do a new series that we're teaching through, this is always one of our big points, because if we just pull something that makes sense to us but don't go research it, we don't know what conversation we're jumping into the middle of. And so the same thing is true for the American Cancer Society and your local Relay for Life event. You don't want to accidentally introduce people to something offensive or jump in on a controversial conversation just solely because it was a trending hashtag and you wanted to get into that. So using simple things that you know already exist, like Throwback Thursday, Motivation Monday, Mission Monday is another one I know that's out there that people use. Your event may come up with a hashtag that you guys are using consistently. Put that in every one of your posts and start being part of making that a conversation point. And of course, it's always good to, you can use Relay for Life, some of those generic ones that the American Cancer Society has, to be part of that bigger conversation and just introduce folks to the organization that we're all a part of and proud of. Analytics, each platform, especially Facebook, and Carol's going to talk specifically about these, will have analytics and insights. For us, I would say in these roles of online chairs, marketing chairs, it's just important to track what we're doing. We don't want to be wasteful in your time. You don't want to be wasteful in your time. And you want to see what's resonating with folks and what's something that they're interacting with. And so insights will give you some of that. They'll also give you some feedback as far as maybe when your folks are most active or who your age groups are, and just giving you some chance as you're trying to get creative and think through that to put that in front of them. Always remember, we know we're mobile, and so thinking about being your images, what are they going to look like on the phone, just so that folks who are out there can, they're interacting with your posts, but they're mostly on their phone. And so what is this going to look like on their mobile devices as they scroll through and interact with your post? And then monitor, as you go through, and Carol will cover that specifically for us. Now, this is something my type A personality really loves, but I'll tell you, a calendar of whatever sort can be a great tool for you as an online chair. And here's a couple reasons why. It's going to look a lot different based on our personalities. So you are not going to see us send you, this is the calendar you have to use in this format and this kind of thing. But what we do encourage you to do is use one of some sort, because you can sit down and in an hour, schedule out posts for a couple weeks and give yourself the freedom to not be tied and tethered to, oh my gosh, I volunteer and I have to do something every single day. And it's hard. It's hard when you work in this field. It's hard when you volunteer in this field to not feel a little bit of that tug. And so what might be great is if you can just sit down and just, print off a calendar, whether it's you use something in Publisher or Excel or something you buy at Walmart or the Dollar Tree, and just get yourself something, whether you like to do it electronically or physically write it down. Just give yourself an idea. That's part of what's going to help you see that blend and that balance, but it also lets you see where some of those gaps are. And so something that I've found in the past is super helpful is I can go into my meeting with my ELT or my team captains meeting where I'm hearing announcements made about my local event, and I can make a list out of the things I need to plug into my calendar here. And I also at that meeting can realize I don't have to be in charge of capturing and gathering everything. I can kind of get some little recruits in my area and go, oh, hey, I hear you guys are painting, signposts that are going to be used for Paint the Town Purple. Will you guys take a picture? Tell me again what day you're going to do that. Will you guys take a picture of doing that and send it to me? And then you've got it on your calendar to be able to post it the next day. And maybe you set yourself a little reminder to shoot them a text and say, hey, John, don't forget tonight when y'all are painting to send me a picture of you guys, out there, or shoot me a quick video of you guys doing that. It just gives you some creative opportunities that you can gather so much in that meeting and not tie yourself down to have to be bogged down with all of the things that you have to post. Just gives you a chance to be organized. And again, inside Facebook, when you run a page, you can't do this on your personal page, but when you're running a page like you do for your event, you're able to schedule out those posts. And so you can go ahead and get those scheduled and then leave yourself the gap for when something sneaks up, like a special holiday or some last minute fundraiser you guys are going to do, or just something that happens. You run to lunch and you happen to pass by the business of a new sponsor and they've got their sign out front. You snap a picture, and that gives you a great space to do some recognition really quickly right there while you're doing that. Next slide really just reminds us, and Carol said this, and I'll say it again, we are going to send an email out after, it'll probably be tomorrow or Friday, that will give you guys some links to some specific things. But as the American Cancer Society, we really don't, we try not to anyway, recruit you into these positions and then leave you out to dry, leave you out to hang and not have anything. So there is Relay Nation, we call it Relay Connect now, but also the brand toolkit. Both of those are resources that if you're not connected to, we want to get you connected to, because they will help you in so much. In two places that you'll see some specific content is kind of this evergreen content as well as this 40-day from event content. So the evergreen content is going to fall in those 5 areas with some specific ideas, even some things written out for you. And then same thing, the 45 days from event is going to give you some ideas of things 45 days out from your actual event, a post you can make. And so it's great, again, that's a curate spot for you where you can gather this information that's pre-written, that's there to help you, and then you personalize that, but you also tell your stories in between. And so it just gives you 2 good places, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to link to that and get you that. Some other places you may look and consider is watching our national accounts and our regional accounts. And by that, I mean, if you don't follow those pages already yourself on Facebook, go out there and follow them. One of those things, to go back to that algorithm, the more I interact and engage with a page, the more likely I am to always see that stuff. And so sometimes people say, well, I never see that content even though I follow their page. Well, I would ask the question, as an administrator, how often do you intentionally like and comment and interact with those posts? So if you're not seeing them and you want to be able to share the content they're doing, a little experiment you might try is for 2 weeks or maybe a month, just go intentionally each day and see what those pages they post, and like it or share it if that's the thing that you want to post on your page. And that'll just get your personal engagement with those accounts up, and then that stuff is more likely to show up in your own personal feed. So just trying to give you some places to capture some stuff. There's a missions packet that goes out that talks about kind of our mission emphasis each month, and that packet also usually includes some digital graphics that you can use on your social media pages, and sometimes they'll even write out some written out posts that'll have hashtags or tags already built into them. Just trying to take some of that guessing out of it for you. We want to share, our national accounts want to share, what's written, so that messaging is kind of on point to what we have. And then there's also a tool that my team that I'm on, my cohorts from the other regions, we put together a newsletter, a tool each month called Relay Communicator. And if you are not getting that information, you might reach out to your event chair. We share it through our area leads who share it to the event chairs. And it has articles in it, 7 to 12, if you will, each month. They're just active things going on in the society that we want to share with people. So if you're not getting that or haven't seen it, maybe ask your local event chair about it and ask them each month when they get it to forward it to you. And that's just some automatic links, again, to 7 to 12 things you could be posting throughout the month to make sure folks know what that is. I'll tell you, last month, just to give you two options, we shared links to the commercials that have come out over Christmas break. I saw a couple commercials, and they were new videos, if you will, that the American Cancer Society has released. Well, guess what? Those are all sitting out on YouTube. That are great links you could go pick up and mix in, and it's pre-recorded things that are talking about the American Cancer Society's drive to attack cancer from every angle. And it's a nurse is one, a cancer survivor is one, a mom of a childhood cancer patient is one. And so there's just some different angles that might resonate with the different people in your community that you guys are trying to connect with and pull in. And then one more thing here before I switch it back to Carol, I wanted to just talk real briefly about the concept of user-generated content, and we're going to say that as opposed to corporate-generated content. And this is one of those areas that's going to be really big with some of the new changes that are coming from Facebook's algorithm switch and just how they're interacting with folks. And one of the things I would encourage you to do is in your post, tag the region page, tag the American Cancer Society, tag at Relay for Life. Tagging those pages are just going to help as you talk about the stuff to connect folks, and it's going to help those pages be able to do what they need to do to support us, because one of these new things, as Carol mentioned, is the good thing is we're going to start seeing more from our family and less from ads and all these people that are trying to get in front of us. The bad thing is we're going to quit seeing all the things from some of these organizational pages as often as we'd like, and more pictures of our Uncle Greg's cat. So we're going to have to do a few things creatively as some of these page managers to make sure that we're helping engagement, but we're also helping engagement with those pages. And all it's really boiling down to is that word that I see right in the middle of the page, and that is increased authenticity is going to increase engagement. And so the more we can do to tell the story of our local event and what the American Cancer Society is doing in our communities, the more we're going to see the engagement go up. And so it's going to be a tagging game, and we're going to see here in just a little bit how tagging can affect posts and engagement numbers specifically. But I would also encourage you to talk at maybe one of your committee meetings, and then maybe even more at one of your team captain meetings, that when people post about Relay for Life and they live in your town, have them tag your page in their post, because that will also increase your popularity. It's kind of like the prom. You're just looking to be the prom queen. And so the more they can tag you when they're talking about going to a fundraiser, or they are headed to a meeting tonight, have them say, headed to a meeting for at Sevier County Relay for Life. And that tags your page and just helps other people in your community. Because again, you don't have to be popular in all of Facebook. You want to be popular among the people in your town and your community that you are trying to reach. And so it is going to be a little bit of a tagging game. And I think that's going to be a new tip we're going to really start pushing. Carol and I have talked about a little bit as we do some follow-up, is to just make sure folks are hearing us say, hey, get them to tag you, and that'll just help your pages show up in front of people in your community every time they can talk about what they're doing with your local Relay for Life event. All right. Really here, relevance is what's going to matter, and that's where I'm going to turn it back over to Carol and let her talk to us about engagement specifics.
Well, and you were on a roll there. Talk about engagement. And, you know, it's funny because when you talk about social media and you talk to your neighbor, they go, oh, yeah, I've got a social media Facebook page and I just post all the time. How difficult can this be? Well, when you're trying to measure impact, all of a sudden, Uncle Greg's cat isn't anymore what you need to see. So really, when we're talking about engagement, we're talking about authenticity, and we're talking about visibility and relevance. We really need to grow our followers, and that's where they come from. They come from feeding them information that's important and relevant and meaningful to them. Likes are important, shares are important, clicks are important. All of those add up, you know, and reach is important too, but quite honestly, I would rather have them, you know, get involved with what we're saying and what we're doing. Reach will come with that. All of these are interdependent. So the more we engage the more engagement that we get, the higher the engagement rate is a reflection of how relevant we are to the community, and relevance leads to revenue. So it's all connected, and we've sort of said the same thing over and over again tonight, and using different words. And then let me talk about what that engagement looks like when we talk about analytics. On your homepage, on your Facebook event page, there is across the top, I want to say publishing tools is one of them. And the other one is insights. There's a couple of other ones across the top, but one of them is insights. And when you click on insights and then you find your posts, this is what you'll see. Some of you might be familiar with it. Others, this might be, you know, you might be seeing it again for the first time. But this tells you when you posted it, basically what you said. Was it just a text post? Was it a video? Was it a photograph? And I have highlighted here engagement rate. That's not a default. You have to use the drop-down menu to pull up the engagement rate. But what you're looking for is a really solid organic reach that also turns into an engagement rate. And you know, a litmus test is 10%. It's not easy to get there, but boy, when your post hits 10% engagement rate, that really does mean you're relevant to the people who are reading it, and it is meaningful to them. And just if your event has money in, you know, a budget for boosting, you could think about boosting a post after it's hit that 10% organic engagement rate. Just don't post, you know, don't boost something that has a low engagement rate, because boosting a 0 is still a 0. So watch for it to perform, and then if you've got some money to put into it, go for it. If you don't, that's not a problem. It's not a deal breaker. Most pages that reach these high reach and high engagement rates are community-based, they're personal, they're emotional. They're the ones that we talked about in terms of telling stories and blending it. They highlight survivors and caregivers and sponsors and team leads and heroes of hope or voices of hope. And they probably include a photo, at least a photo, maybe a carousel of photos, or a video. Video is king. You know, we like things that move. You might even be able to find some GIFs that you can use. GIF is a GIF that's, it's like a picture that has movement in it. You know it when you see it. In any case, we like things that move. We like things that talk to us and are almost entertaining. The relevant posts are also going to include links and tags, like Keisha mentioned. I love your idea about having someone, having the teams, having the committee post on their personal page and then tag your event page. That's an awesome tip. That's a great tip. And that really is going to help drive up engagement, because it's also going to drive up your reach. So putting all this together now, Keisha's going to take a walk through a couple of posts that we just pulled down some samples, and she's going to take you on a tour of them to show you what they did well and where they had opportunities to do even better. So back to you, Keisha.
All right, and I was starting to type in the group, in the chat, and I'll just say it out loud. We said the word tag, and I know that we often know on Twitter or even Instagram, we can use a little @ symbol and put someone's handle or their name, and it, you know, it tags it. The Facebook actually works the same way. You just don't see the @ symbol. So if you're trying to tag me in a post with you, then you would say @Keisha McKinney, and as you started typing my name, it would show up because we're friends, and that's how you can tag. The same is true for businesses, organizations, and pages. So if you're wondering, you keep saying tag, and what do you mean? That's how you tag someone, whether it's an individual again or an organization. You can use the little @ symbol. It won't stay there, but that's what the system knows to see that you're starting to pick it up. So the first one we're going to look at here is a post from Relay for Life of Terrebonne Parish. I will tell you, we had somebody ask the other night, this is a great account to follow if you're trying to look for people who are doing creative things. They have been known for a long time for just their scores on customer satisfaction surveys after Relay, as well as just being a really active event who does lots of great things and best practices. So they're a great page to follow. They're down in Louisiana. So you might read some Cajun talk, or as you see Becky's name there, her last name is definitely a little Cajun. But looking at this is obviously a post of an event that they did during the Christmas season, leading up to Christmas. They did a carousel of pictures, so you've got lots of variety. Clearly, it's a very local, community-specific event, and so that alone probably helped with their engagement rate, just being so local and so specific. But they have lots of pictures. A couple things that I would say, just looking at it, you know, where did they have some opportunities? You'll see the second line there. They say, you know, our survivors, ELT, Elena, and Keith. Well, they could have tagged Elena and Keith in this, and this post would actually have shown up on Elena and Keith's landing page, which could have potentially made it show up in the friends of Elena and Keith, and just helped with some of that engagement. There's not really a specific call to action. They're just kind of thanking everybody who joined them and essentially sharing the pictures. So, you know, looking forward to things that are going to happen in the new year, what's fundraiser idea, you know, just something else, or including a link at the end back to their event, and just having that URL there. But still, they got a 12% engagement rate, and this is definitely something that I think just being so local and so connected helped them help benefit, because it was very local and people could see it. The next one, I loved this idea. They did a 12 days of Christmas kind of a giveaway, and they got lots of engagement through this process. This was the event insight screen that was up a minute ago. So just a great kind of continuous thing that probably built some anticipation and got people really excited to come back day after day and look at this video. We're seeing, and it's out there, that videos are definitely going to be getting higher engagement, even in photos and images, as Facebook goes into this next year. One thing, I don't know if you noticed there at the top, it says Jefferson County was live. So actually they went ahead and used the Facebook Live feature. And then what's great is those videos are stored on your feed. So even though I might not have been there at 12:28 p.m., my lunch break may have come at 1, this still showed up. People could still interact with it, engage with it after it happened. So it's very scary, I know, to put the camera in front of your face, but you are behind. You don't have to be the one that does it. You can recruit someone to be the face of this event, or go on site to your sponsors, or I guarantee you there's somebody on your committee that loves to be in front of a camera. And so here's their big chance. Let them be your partner or your buddy, and give them a job as part of your social team. Looking at this maybe for some opportunities, again, they could have tagged the person who won. So that would have just been a tag, something to do there. There's no call to action or even pointing to a link. So if you're day 10 of 12, maybe when we get to day 3, your involvement, engagement might wane a little bit. This gives a chance to say, hey, and if you're wondering what all this is about, check out our event page. And you can put that link there. So you can always include a link, even when you're doing something like a video or posting an image as well. That link can still be part of your caption, and just help, point back to that. Again, maybe not every day of the 12 have they have said it, but at least, periodically could they have linked in and said, getting excited about our event, even though it's coming in the summer of 18 or something like that. Just gives lots to do that. They're also putting the fund in fundraising. So guess what? We're okay as relayers to be a little cheesy, and to get some of those fun things out there. This next one, Zachary Baker Relay for Life, I'll also tell you, is another great event in our region now. This one had a 32% engagement rate, and we're going to talk a little bit about why I think that, and you guys may have some different ideas. But again, if you're looking for an event to follow, the last one we did, as well as these that we're using examples, are all good events to follow and just get some ideas. But this is a great, and I'll tell you, fundraiser times are really great times to highlight community people. I would think one of the main reasons they probably got this kind of engagement is they checked in and tagged that they were at the Zachary Chamber of Commerce. So that alone exposed this post to all the followers of the Zachary Chamber of Commerce. So they got the multiplicity effect to help and kick in for them. It's very community focused, and guess what? It's a female event, and that is the demographic of many of our constituents with the American Cancer Society and Relay for Life. But it's also the main group in Facebook and what their involvement is. So anytime you can promote that, always going to give you a chance to just kind of boost some of that. What else is great is they did recognition. They thanked folks, the location check-in. A couple missed things that I just see immediately. They misspelled the word cancer, and that's just a bummer. Those happen. We're typing fast. We're trying to get something done quick. So just read those. Those are things that reflect on your event page. They reflect on the organization. And so they're just quick things to check and catch as you go through. I'm also going to say, while they did check in at the chamber and include that, they missed out the opportunity to tag the Charity League. I mean, goodness gracious. And then also they missed out the chance to tag Kendra Scott. And so we do love our Kendra Scott jewelry and all of the fun accessories, but that just is 2 organizations that they missed out on. And with this high engagement rate, there's no link back to their event or to other calls of action in the future. That this exposure, just potentially missed being able to share that with some other people. Another one here to look at before we kind of wind down is this tennis tournament that was happening. So they did a great tagging. This one, you'll see they tagged actually local businesses. So the Citizens Bank, the Country Club, they tagged those in there. It would have probably been great to tag Kevin and Anthony that they mentioned, but they may not follow them, so they may not have been connected. But it was great that they tagged both of those clubs, probably helped with some of their engagement. Very community focused. Those are 2 people I can see, I can recognize, and I feel like I kind of got the story of what happened with this fundraiser. And it might even get me thinking about, oh, why didn't our tennis league do something like this? So it just gives me some ideas. There's, again, not a connection back to their specific relay as far as opportunities. They just say the American Cancer Tennis Classic. so they miss that word society. And branding is so important, as we're always trying to, you know, whether our communities have multiple cancer organizations that are fundraising, or, you know, just in general, we're trying to, you know, connect Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society. You know, there's other organizations that have similar names to their events in some of our communities. And so just getting all that branding in there just really helps, again, for awareness and what's happening. But still, a 9% engagement rate, and something for them to monitor and see and be proud of, with that local event fundraising that happened, and hopefully got them some good money. So we're going to wind down here. Just coming back to this screen. If you guys have questions you've not been able to ask, I think we'll have a couple minutes to address those. Also, you can mention them in the chat room. But you know, couple big things to remember: partner with your ELT. That's your committee. You know, you're not in this alone. Don't feel like you have to be the only one. Ask them for input. Ask them for things that you can be posting. You know, go ahead and establish rapport and partnership with your sponsor chair, so that when that person brings in a new sponsor, they're sending and feeding those names to you. You know, go ahead now and get with your sponsor, your survivor chair, and think about ways, whether February you want to do a campaign about we love survivors and you want to tell their stories, or could they, the week leading up to the event, give you a couple names and you could reach out and have specific stories that are things you're putting out as reasons and compelling folks that they want to come. And same thing for your caregiver chair. You know, so look around the room when you're at that committee meeting and think, what information could I be getting from that person that could help give me content? Because again, that calendar is there for you to help plan, but you don't have to come up with all that stuff by yourself, whether you're curating it or you're asking them to feed you information. The more you can get from them and what they're doing, even like your event people that are planning your ceremonies and your activities for the night, man, when they solidify the band that's going to be the big performer, that's always a great thing you want to get out and promote on your page. So again, don't feel like you're in it alone. Get that information. Let your ELT and your other committee members help you. Give yourself a target. Give yourself a goal. We've suggested the 10% engagement rate. Maybe it's also moving from 1 post a week to 4, you know, and saying, I'm going to do that for a couple months, and then leading up to the event, I want to do this contest online, like whatever that looks like. But give yourself a goal that's reasonable. I'm kind of one of those that sets too much, and then I'm like, wear myself out. So give yourself a goal that's reasonable. This is still a volunteer opportunity that you're doing, but also know that, you know, more followers is more participants and more sponsors. And it's always a great thing to be able to add to your sponsor packet your social media numbers and how you engage people here. Those are great things that sponsor chair could use when they're trying to tell a bank or an insurance agency or somebody else in town that they were trying to recruit for the first time. Hey, we have this many followers on our Facebook page. This is what we do for sponsors, and this is our engagement rate traditionally with the posts we have. So you can really be a benefit to that revenue, because again, that relevance equals revenue, and so that's one of those places that you see that come out. And then I would just challenge you. Like I said, we're gonna send out links to the brand toolkit and to these other tools. Really use those. I've seen so many events that will rely on like Google Images and will just save things that they find out there. You don't always know that that's the current version of a logo, or that that's the way something that should be said. So make sure that you know where the graphics are coming from that you're using, and that's why Brand Toolkit and these Relay Connect resources can really be so helpful for you, because they're coming trusted, and especially when it comes to things like facts about the American Cancer Society or our mission moments and those kinds of things, that you can make sure you're sharing on-point branded information. So I'm going to let Carol, can you think of anything that we need to make sure? I know we're going to send the survey out about the call, and then we'll also send some follow-up information, but anything else specific? Because I want to just give folks just a minute if anybody has any questions. I know we've not anything in chat, but just anything like that.
No, I don't have anything I want to add, except for really, we do appreciate you taking the time out tonight and being with us, and we sure hope that this has been helpful to you. But yeah, questions would be great. And then any kind of feedback that you can give us to make make what we do better to help you do what you do. So no, let's open it up to questions.
Yeah, we'll open. I know it's right at 8 o'clock, and so some of you may need to go because we've used the hour we asked for. But if you guys have any specific questions, you can take yourself off mute, or you can type the question over in the chat box, and we'll try to just give it a couple minutes and see what you guys have out there.
And if you're shy, there will be an opportunity for you to add it on the survey.
I think if you're on the phone, it's *6, or if you're on the computer, you can just click unmute on your individual profile there.
I don't really have any questions, but it is really good information, especially with the changes that just came out with Facebook. So there's a lot of really good information. So thank you, ladies.
So welcome.
Yeah.
So very welcome.
Thanks for participating. Anybody else? Well, let me leave it with this. Like Carol said, we really do. Our goal is to equip you. We're just getting started, of course, as a new South region, and so we kind of started here. And if there are trainings you would like to have, things you would like to know more about, we'd love to develop that and see what we can do to support you. And if if there's a consistent way you'd love to hear from us, or consistent things you'd love to hear from us, please include those in the feedback on the survey, and just let us know. Or you guys all got an email from me, so you have my email address now. So if just questions come up as you get into the year, and maybe tonight was things you already knew and you'd like to go one step further, and you just want to reach out, we can do that as well and get you guys connected. But thanks so much for your time. Thanks for what you're doing to serve the American Cancer Society. I think Carol and I would both echo, as survivors, we're just grateful for the work that people like you do. That's why both of us are still here, and so we're thankful for the time that you put in. So you guys have a great night, and let us know if we can do anything for you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.